Joining us now, the Speaker of House of the state of Mississippi, Speaker Philip Gunn. Mr. Speaker, thanks for coming on today. What about this event? This is great.
Hey, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And by the way, congratulations on the show. I think this is the first time I've been on since it became the official Gerard Gibbert show. So
yeah, appreciate that.
It's great to be with a local celebrity like yourself.
I don't know about that, but
you giving out autographs? Can I get an autograph for you?
That hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
I don't expect that. So.
Very good.
Appreciate you coming on, though. And
this is a fantastic event. It's one I like to participate in each year. There's nothing that we can ever do, I think, to express our gratitude for our veterans and what they've done for our country. You know, I had an opportunity to go to Normandy about 5 years ago, and to stand on those beaches and to hear the stories that took place on that spot and to contemplate the freedom that those guys fought for. One thing I didn't realize until I got there is just how powerful Adolf Hitler was, and how to hear the stories told about how close he came to succeeding. And but for these guys who fought and who decided to storm that beach and who sacrificed, the world might have changed. And so you've got veterans out there, not only in World War II, but Vietnam and the Korean War and the Gulf War, that have stepped up just like that to provide and preserve the freedoms that we enjoy. And so to come out here and show a sign of support for them is an honor for all of us, and I'm indeed honored to be a part of this program today.
And great crowd, great participation. We had Director Stacy Pickering, Mississippi Veterans Affairs Director, on earlier on the show. He says this thing's getting so big that they
I heard him talk about that. They had a golf tournament yesterday, and they had more teams than they could accommodate, so they're going to have to expand the golf tournament.
That's awesome.
And then today they've got, a morning and an afternoon group, and we'll probably end up having to expand that as well.
It's
so
awesome.
It's wonderful to see the Mississippians show up and show their support, and we're doing what we can to help our veterans and make sure that they are shown how much we appreciate them.
And we had Representative Carpenter, who, of course, serves in your chamber, on earlier, and he was talking about some projects that his group has on the table. He's the chairman, of course, of the House Military Affairs Committee, but one of those involves, I believe, relocating one of the homes that's in West Jackson, and maybe out in the Rankin County to a more suitable locale, and just a need to improve those conditions.
That's correct. That is correct. That home has been there for as long as I remember.
Yeah,
I grew up in Clinton, and it's been there ever since I can remember.
Yep.
And that area of town has declined. Those buildings have declined. They're old. It's just you've patched them up as long as you can patch them up, and it's time to build a new facility for those guys.
I think that's right. Hopefully we can get something done, because we certainly can't abandon, and they deserve everything that we can do for them. And, of course, as he was talking about, we've got the World War II vets that are steadily dying out and disappearing because of age, and now the Vietnam vet is, I guess, the most that they deal with and the most they service, just based on that age.
Correct.
So we got to take care of those men and women that took care of us.
They did. They did. And it's great of you and your show to come out here and highlight this. Yeah. And each year you're out here, you're featuring this on your show, and you're having people on to highlight this and talk about it and build it up, and that your part needs to be acknowledged in this as well.
We'll appreciate that. It's a labor of love. It's an honor and a privilege to do our little part to serve those veterans. So, all right, well, we got a new session coming up here pretty soon. It's hard to believe. It's only a couple of months away.
We're 3 months away from, a little less than 3 months away from January.
But it seems like, Mr. Speaker, since Sonny died, we've had a lot of stuff going on since then, with the medical marijuana bill, of course, that is still floating out there, and I think the tax reform bill that passed the House that you've been out providing insight and educating, traveling around the state. I've seen you 2 or 3 times do so, do a great job of that. So a lot of big issues that are likely to be debated in the Capitol.
Yes, sir.
In 2022.
That's right. Of course, there's a lot of talk about the special session, potential special session over a number of items, one of which is first responders. I think you and I talked about that, trying to provide some death benefits to our first responders who die of COVID, taking care of our domestic violence shelters, human trafficking centers, and our child advocacy centers. They've lost funding due to the pandemic. We want to shore them back up to make sure that our women and children continue to receive the services they need. We've also got this issue with hospitals struggling to maintain their staff. We've got a plan we put out there to help those hospitals retain those healthcare workers.
Yep.
And then, of course, the medical marijuana. Now, if any of those issues are not handled in the special session, they obviously would come up in January. In addition to that, we've got the income tax, which you mentioned. We've got the initiative process, which was set aside by the Supreme Court.
Yep.
So we're looking to reinstitute that. And then redistricting, which is here upon us. So those are three items that just come to the top of my head as I sit here.
Those are big.
So all of them are big. And redistricting comes around once every 10 years. So as you can see, we've got a busy schedule for the next 2 or 3 months, 6 months, really, between now and the end of the session, trying to get all of those issues handled.
And just for the benefit of our audience, Mr. Speaker, as the leader of the chamber, you've got 122 members. Is
Correct.
That right? You're in touch with them all throughout the period that you're out of session.
I try to stay in touch with them regularly, sure do. It's nothing more than just to call them and see how they're doing. But there are constant communications. They come to the Capitol still and work, and I run into them at the Capitol. But I try to stay in good, constant communications with them without bothering them too much.
Yeah. So the last time you and I saw each other, I believe, we were down at the Capitol for Senator Josh Harkin's hearing on tax reform. And
correct.
It was a bicameral, if you will, meeting, representatives from both chambers, and you had a couple of days of speakers come before you. I was privileged to be one of those.
That is correct.
Ending the session there. What's your take from that? What do you think?
Well, anyone who watched those hearings or attended those hearings, I think if you just look objectively at what the testimony was, you could see that it was overwhelmingly in favor of getting rid of the income tax. I counted up the number of witnesses that spoke in favor of getting rid of the income tax and or in favor of the plan that we proposed. And there were 7 witnesses, including yourself, the 2 economists from Ole Miss, the Americans for Tax Reform, National Taxpayers Union, the Tax Foundation, and one other person that escaped, Empower. That's 7 people who spoke in favor of the plan and getting rid of the income tax. There was 1 witness who testified to the contrary. So I'm a lawyer in my regular life. If I'm sitting on a jury and I look at the weight of the evidence, it was overwhelmingly in favor of getting rid of the income tax. And as a side note, you did a fantastic job of summarizing the entire thing and bringing it together. You were the last witness, but you did a great job of putting some practical application to the plan. If you look at the concern that was expressed over loss of revenue, there's a lot of people who say, well, if we cut out the income tax, we're going to lose revenue.
Yeah.
Again, look at the weight of the witnesses. The state economist, the Legislative Budget Office, and the Department of Revenue, all 3 testified that there would be no loss in revenue. In fact, one of them said it would actually increase revenue by $58 million.
Yeah.
There were 0 witnesses who testified to the contrary.
Right.
And so I can go down every other point like that and say, just look at the weight of testimony. Look at the credentials of the people who testified, and it's overwhelmingly in favor of the plan that we have proposed. And I'm saying, I don't know that our plan is the end all, but it's a great starting point, and we need to have negotiations and discussions about how, if there need to be tweaks made, we can make tweaks, but we need to get it done. Yeah. However we get there, we need to get it done.
Well, I certainly hope so, and we should also point out that the witness who spoke in opposition of the plan really was in favor of raising taxes and dreaming up all sorts of new taxes as well, and expanding government to use the funding from those additional taxes for new government programs.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It wasn't really anything about how can we grow our economy and our economic base and expand opportunity.
No, it was a purely political testimony designed to advance a political agenda, which which was to expand government, tax the rich more. She said that out of her own mouth.
Yeah.
And if you look at the bio, is a young lady who had only been a policy advisor for 1 year versus the economists and all the national policy experts who testified. It just didn't carry the weight that the others did. So you go down every point, like I said, and the overwhelming weight of testimony was in favor of getting rid of income tax.
We got just about 30 seconds left. Quickly, did you get any feedback from the Senate, from Senator Harkins, Lieutenant Governor?
Yes, I am working regularly, daily almost with them to try to move them in this direction. I think we've got a positive reception over there. I hope they continue to work with us on that.
Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me on. Always good to be with you.
We'll be right back with Midday's final segment. I think we got former Governor Bryant joining us.